In this video, we will learn about using C++ for file input and output, also called file I/O. Up at the top of the code, we need to include the fstream header file, which gives us access to code to work with files. Let's create a file that we will write some text to. To do this, we will create a variable of type ofstream, named example1, that we name example1.txt. ofstream is a class that we use in order to write to files. Next, we will actually write some text to the file. First comes the name of the variable, example1. Then we put the insertion operator. Finally comes the text we want to write to the file as a string, which in this case will be the contents for the file. After writing to the file, we need to close it, so we can type example1.close, which calls the close function to close our file. Let's run the code. To check if the file was created with the contents that we specified, we can right-click on the tab of the CPP file in Visual Studio Code and select Reveal in Finder. This will open up the folder where our CPP file is stored. In that same folder will be a file named example1.txt, and if we double-click on this file, notice that the contents we wrote to it are present inside of it. Now that we know how to create and write to a file, let's learn how to read text from a file. We will start out by creating a variable of type ifstream named example2, and pass the string example1.txt into the constructor, so that the contents of the file get added to our example2.txt file. Then we will have a character variable named c that we set equal to example2.get. While example2.good, we will output c to the console. Then we will set c equal to example2.get. The good function lets us know that we haven't reached the end of the file, and that there are more characters to process. The get function will grab the next character to process in the file. When we run the code, notice that the contents of the file were printed to the console. In this video, we will learn about working with dates and times in C++. The first step to doing so is to import the ctime header file into our program using an include statement. To start out, we will create a variable of time t, named now, that we set equal to a time object with a value of 0 passed in. Time will return the current time, represented as the number of seconds that have passed since January 1st, 1970. This is a special date called the Unix epoch, which gives us a uniform date to use as the basis for working with UTC, which stands for Universal Time Coordinated. Another important feature of working with dates and times in C++ is the tm struct. It is responsible for holding date and time information. For example, let's create a pointer of type tm named nowLocalTime that we set equal to local time with ampersand now passed in. Before we move forward, I want to take the time to go over the different date and time information that the tm struct gives us access to, because it is important to understand the tools that the language gives you access to when programming. This table shows the information that we have access to. tmsec will give us the seconds, tmmin will give us the minutes, tmhour will give us the hour, tmmday will give us an integer value between 1 and 31, representing the day of the month. tmmun will give us an integer between 0 and 11, representing the month. tmyear gives us the year since 1990. tmwday gives us the days since Sunday. tmyday gives us the days since January 1st. And tmisdst gives us the hours of daylight savings time. Now that we know more about the tm struct, let's take a look at how we can work with it in C++. Next, we will output the year to the console. To do this, we print the result of 1900 plus the value of the tm year field. When we run the code, notice that the year was output to the console. Let's look at an example that is a bit more complex and combines using several of the tm struct's fields. Let's create an integer variable named month that we set equal to 1 plus nowLocal times tm month value. Next, we will create an int variable named day that we set equal to the tm_mday value. Then we will create an int variable year that we set equal to 1900 plus tm year. After that, we will create an int variable named hour that we set to 5 plus tm hour. Next, we will create an integer variable minutes set equal to 30 plus tm min. Then we will have an int variable named seconds that we set to tm sec. The code we just wrote gives us a variable holding the current month, day, year, hour, minutes, and second. Let's output month, then a slash, then day, then a slash, then year, then a space, then hour, then a colon, then minutes, then a colon, then seconds, and finally a new line to the console. When we run the code, notice that the date information and time information for the current date and time are output to the console. In this video, we will go over the answer and explanation of the coding exercise. The problem asks us to output the current year to the console. When we want to work with dates and times in C++, the first step is to include ctime, as we learned earlier in this section, as it gives us access to important date and time classes. Let's create a variable of type timet, named now that we set equal to time with 0 passed in. Then we will create a pointer of type tm that we name now local time, which we set to local time with ampersand now passed in. Next, we will create an int variable named year that we set equal to 1900 plus the tm year value of now local time. And finally, we will output year to the console. When we run the code to check our solution, notice that it works, meaning we correctly solved the problem.